The dark red wine soaked straight through my white blouse. Cold and sticky against my skin, Yawen stood over me, her engagement ring flashing under the dining room chandelier. She dropped a greasy kitchen rag onto my lap, her lips curled into a slow, perfectly rehearsed smile. "Oops," she whispered. "Well, the help is used to cleaning up." Right, the table went dead silent. My brother, "How you?" Looked away. My parents stared at their plate, suddenly very interested in their roasted duck. I gripped the edge of the mahogany table until my knuckles ached. I took the rag, wiped the stain, and looked right through her. That was the exact second the familial obligation died in my chest. Her grand engagement gala was going to be her professional funeral. I walked into the kitchen, the swinging door cutting off the sound of Yawen's tinkling laugh. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. From the dining room, Yawen's voice drifted in, bragging about her new designer shoes. She called me a glorified lunch lady, a pathetic spinster. I stared at the screen. How you had been given a corporate credit card linked to my catering company's joint account meant strictly for vendor emergencies. The top line of the statement glowed back at me. A charge for $2,000 at a luxury boutique, processed 20 minutes ago. He had handed my business card to his fiancée to treat herself. My name is Yu Ching. I am 29 years old. And over the last 7 years, I built one of the most exclusive catering and event companies in the city from absolute nothing. Yet, in my family's eyes, my success was only valuable if it funded How You's Golden Boy lifestyle. I pressed the phone to my ear. The bank representative answered. I reported the $2,000 charge as unauthorized corporate theft, canceled the card, and froze the entire joint account. One phone call severed my brother's endless allowance. The free ride ended tonight. The next morning, my phone lit up with demands. My mother texted me an order, not a request. I was to fully fund and cater How You's 300 guest engagement gala. For family honor, she wrote, Yawen followed up with a text threatening to ban me from my own brother's wedding if the lobster wasn't perfectly sourced. I tossed the phone onto my desk and walked into my private office. Something was wrong. The filing cabinet behind my desk was slightly ajar. My master proprietary hard drive, the one containing a decade of supplier discounts, private vendor contracts, and the personal contact information of every high net worth VIP client I had ever served was gone. I opened my laptop and pulled up the cloud feed for my office security cameras. The footage from 1 o'clock in the morning played back in crisp high definition. There was my cousin, Jian Hong. I had given him a spare key weeks ago to oversee late night floral deliveries. He walked straight to the cabinet, unlocked it, and pulled out the drive. A second figure stepped into the frame, Yawen. She snatched the drive from Jian Hong's hands. Her voice came through the audio feed, sharp and arrogant. She called my VIP clients a bunch of brainless new money idiots. She bragged to Jian Hong about using my stolen data to launch her own luxury hospitality firm, promising him a management role once they crushed my business. This was no longer a toxic family dispute. This was documented corporate espionage. I drove straight to the sleek downtown office of my corporate lawyer. May. We skipped the pleasantries. I slid my laptop across her desk and played the video. May's expression turned to stone. We pulled up the catering contract my parents had guilted me into signing for the gala. May pointed a manicured finger at a specific paragraph. The B2B morals and hostile work environment clause, it gave me the absolute legal right to void the contract instantly if subjected to abuse, theft, or sabotage. May drafted a formal notice of termination on her heavy, watermarked firm paper. Anticipating Yawen's greed, he set a trap. I rented a fleet of trucks and moved my entire high-value inventory out of my old warehouse facility, leaving the massive space completely empty. But I kept the commercial smart security system fully active. Later that afternoon, I conveniently ran into Jan Hong. I looked stressed. I told him my main servers were down and I had to move all my digital client backups to the old, unguarded warehouse on the edge of town. His eyes lit up. The bait was set. The night of the engagement gala arrived. The ballroom was draped in imported silk. The city's elite, including dozens of my top VIP clients, sat at the crystal-laden tables. I stood near the kitchen doors in my chef's uniform. How you stood up, tapping a spoon against his champagne flute. He smirked and commanded me to come up to the stage to thank the kitchen staff. He wanted me to bow. I smiled. I walked out from the kitchen, but I did not walk to the stage. I walked directly to the center table where my most prominent VIP clients were seated alongside Yawen's boss, the director of her hospitality group. May stepped out from the crowd and stood beside me. The ballroom quieted. Sensing the shift in the air, Yawen's smug smile faltered. May placed the heavy legal notice of contract termination directly onto Haoyu's plate. I reached into my apron, pulled out a thick envelope containing the transcripts and stills from the security footage, and placed it in front of Yawen's boss. I looked at the VIPs. Yawen didn't just invite you here for champagne tonight. I said, my voice carrying clearly through the silent room. She invited you to steal your corporate data from my servers. She thinks you are brainless, new money idiots. And she planned to use my stolen hard drive to solicit your business. Yawen turned the color of ash. She scrambled out of her chair, her voice shrill as she screamed that I was lying, that I was a jealous, bitter sister trying to ruin her night. But Jan Hong, sitting 2 chairs away, completely broke down. The pressure cracked him. He started sobbing, pulling the physical silver hard drive out of Yawen's own designer handbag and shoving it across the table like it was on fire. Yawen's boss stood up. He looked at the drive, then at the transcripts. You are fired, he said, his voice like cracking ice. Pack your desk tomorrow. The VIP clients stood up in unison. Chairs scraped loudly against the marble floor. Without a word, they turned their backs on my family and walked toward the exit. I looked at Haoyu, whose mouth was opening and closing like a suffocating fish. I dropped the finalized invoice for the food already served onto the table. Enjoy the lobster. I said, I turned around and walked out the front doors, breathing the cool night air. The engagement shattered. But Yawen was not just humiliated. She was vindictive and utterly desperate, fired and staring down a mountain of wedding debt with my brother's account frozen. She panicked. That same night, she drove out to my old warehouse. She believed my backup servers were sitting inside, waiting to be stolen and sold to a competitor. She shattered a side window and squeezed inside, cutting the main electrical breaker to disable the cameras. She thought she was being clever, but cutting the power instantly triggered the commercial backup system. A blaring, deafening siren erupted. Yawen panicked in the pitch black. She sprinted blindly toward what she thought was the exit and slammed hard into a barricade of heavy, broken catering tables I had intentionally stacked in the pathways. She collapsed, severely twisting her ankle. She lay there in the dark, immobilized by her own clumsy terror, listening to the wail of the sirens. 5 minutes later, the police arrived. They found her trapped by her own greed, and she was arrested on the spot for premeditated felony commercial burglary. Yawin lost her career, her reputation, and her freedom. How you and my parents were left holding a catastrophic bill for a ruined party. Their golden social image permanently reduced to ash. I changed my phone number, packed my bags, and flew out of the city for a month-long vacation. It has been over a year since that night. The judge sentenced Yawin to significant time for corporate espionage and burglary. My business has doubled in size, but more importantly, the silence in my life is beautiful. No more demanding texts. No more casual cruelty disguised as family bonding. No more paying the price for someone else's ego. Looking back, the psychology of what happened is crystal clear to me now. Toxic families do not hate you. They hate that they cannot control you. They view your competence not as a boundary to respect, but as an endless resource to mine. They mistake your silent diligence for weakness. They will protect a destructive parasite because that parasite feeds their delusional social image, all while they attack the very pillar keeping their roof from collapsing. Surviving that kind of environment taught me 3 absolute rules for life. Rule number 1, blood does not mandate loyalty, actions do. Family is a biological accident. Respect is a behavioral choice. If a relative requires you to shrink yourself so they can feel tall, if they demand your money to fund their irresponsibility, you owe them absolutely nothing. Do not let shared DNA be an excuse for continuous abuse. Rule number 2, never interrupt an enemy making a mistake. The most satisfying justice is not a screaming match in a parking lot. It is not begging for an apology you will never get. True justice is stepping back and letting an arrogant person's own ego and financial desperation guide them straight into an inescapable trap. The law does not care about family feelings. It cares about felony burglary, fraud, and breach of contract. Let their own actions write their final sentence. Rule number 3, the best boundary is a locked door. Forgiving toxic people without seeing a massive change in their behavior only teaches them how to abuse you better the next time. Total severance, financial, physical, and emotional, is the only cure for chronic disrespect. You cannot heal in the same environment that broke you. I am Yu King, and today I am entirely free. Have you ever had to bankrupt a toxic relationship to save your own dignity? Have you ever realized that the people supposed to protect you were the ones holding you down? Drop your story in the comments below. Let me know. I am not the only one who learned the hard way that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to turn around and walk away. Like and subscribe if you are done paying the price for someone else's ego. I know exactly what you are screaming at the screen right now. You are sitting there asking, why on earth did she wait so long? Why did it take her years to cut them off? Why was she funding her brother's lavish lifestyle and letting that fiancé walk all over her in the first place? It is easy to judge from the outside. You look at a self-made CEO and wonder how someone so smart in business could be so passive at home. But she was not stupid. She was trapped in something psychologists call the slot machine effect, also known as intermittent reinforcement. Toxic families are like rigged casinos. 99% of the time, they give you nothing but criticism, unpaid bills, and disrespect. But that 1% of the time when they give you a tiny crumb of validation, a pull-it smile, or a fake invitation to sit at the table, it hits your brain like a jackpot. You get addicted to the hope that if you just pay enough or work hard enough, they will finally love you. But toxic people do not sell love. They just rent out their approval. Once she snapped out of that cycle, she executed a masterclass in financial self-defense. Let us break down her street smart moves so you can protect yourself. First, she used the audit strategy. When her brother's fiancé insulted her, she did not scream or throw a plate. She immediately pulled up her banking app. Toxic relatives and emotional scammers thrive in the gray areas of assumed generosity. By freezing that joint account over a $2,000 shoe purchase, she cut off the oxygen to their entitlement. Scammers hate boundaries, and they absolutely panic when you audit the book. Second, she prioritized building the case over winning an argument. In family disputes, words are completely useless. It always devolves into he said, she said. Instead of confronting them privately about the stolen files, she let the security cameras do the heavy lifting. Audio recordings and video footage of a corporate crime cannot be gaslighted. She brought ironclad receipts to a knife fight. Finally, she executed the buyout. Dropping that voided contract under the morals clause and leaving the final invoice on the table was brilliant. Sometimes the highest return on investment is walking away. She traded a ruined family dinner for her total professional and emotional freedom. Here is the street smart truth you need to take away from this. Your competence is a massive threat to insecure people, and your bank account is their favorite coping mechanism. The ultimate power move is never winning a shouting match with a narcissist. It is removing their access to your resources, stepping out of the way, and letting the law handle their tantrums. What was your breaking point? When did you finally freeze the account, change the locks, or walk away from a toxic situation? Drop your story in the comments below. Let us build a community of survivors who know exactly what they are worth. Hit subscribe. And remember, your peace of mind is the one asset you must never let anyone steal.